The Walls of Benin, the African engineering marvel the world forgot. Long before colonial rule carved up Africa, and long before European armies claimed they had brought civilization to the continent, the people of the Kingdom of Benin had already built one of the most extraordinary systems of earthworks ever created by human hands. In what is now Edo State, Nigeria, the Edo people built a vast network of defensive ditches, embankments, roads, settlement boundaries, and royal enclosures surrounding Benin City and hundreds of communities beyond it. Today, these structures are commonly called the Walls of Benin, though the name can be misleading. They were not a single stone wall stretching across the landscape. They were far more complex. They were an enormous, interconnected system of moats and raised earthworks, known locally in part as Iya, built to protect communities, regulate movement, define territory, organize settlements, and demonstrate the authority of the Benin Kingdom. The engineering principle was simple yet powerful. Workers excavated enormous trenches, and the soil removed from those trenches was piled beside them, forming raised banks. Together, the ditch and embankment formed a formidable defensive barrier. But the true achievement was not merely the height or depth of individual sections, it was the scale of the entire network. Archaeological research has identified thousands of miles of interconnected earthworks spanning the region around Benin City. Estimates place the total length of the wider system at about 16,000 kilometers, nearly 10,000 miles. That figure refers to the broader network of earthworks surrounding many settlements, not to a single continuous wall around Benin City. Distinction matters. Benin's historical achievement does not need exaggeration. The verified facts are already extraordinary. The walls of Benin were among the largest systems of human-made earthworks built before modern mechanized construction. They were built largely by human labor. No bulldozers, no excavators, no modern surveying equipment. Generation after generation organized the workforce, surveyed the land, excavated enormous amounts of soil, constructed defensive boundaries, and maintained the system. That required leadership. That required mathematics. That required planning. That required political organization. Above all, it required a society capable of coordinating thousands of people toward a common purpose. Benin was not an isolated village. The walls also tell us something much larger about African history. Benin was not simply a collection of huts in the wilderness. It was the capital of a powerful African kingdom. The Kingdom of Benin, which flourished for centuries in southern Nigeria, developed a sophisticated political system centered on the Oba of Benin. Benin City itself became one of the most important urban centers in West Africa. When European visitors arrived in the region centuries ago, they encountered a city with organized streets, royal compounds, monumental earthworks, markets, guilds, and highly skilled artisans. The famous Benin Bronzes, masterpieces in brass, bronze, ivory, and wood, came from the same civilization. The people who produced some of the finest metalwork in world history were also capable of organizing massive civil engineering projects. The art and the earthworks were part of the same civilization. Oba Oguola and the expansion of Benin. Benin traditions associate key phases of wall construction with several rulers. Among them was Oba Oguola, traditionally credited with strengthening Benin City's defenses centuries ago. Later rulers expanded and reorganized the kingdom. One of the most important was Oba Ewuare the Great, who ruled during the 15th century. Under Ewuare, Benin expanded militarily and politically. Traditions credit him with transforming Benin City, reorganizing its streets, strengthening royal authority, expanding the palace complex, and developing the capital into a major imperial center. The walls reflected that power. They protected the city, controlled entrances, separated important political spaces, marked communities and territories, and communicated something unmistakable to anyone approaching Benin. You were entering an organized kingdom. More than defensive walls. The earthworks were not only military structures, they helped organize society. In many areas, earthworks surrounded individual settlements. Other sections separated territories. Some marked roads and gateways. Others protected politically important locations. The landscape itself became part of Benin's political system. The walls helped define who belonged where, regulated movement, protected farmland and settlements, provided defensive advantages during conflict, and physically represented the authority of local communities and the monarchy. Imagine looking across the landscape and seeing settlement after settlement enclosed within carefully constructed earthworks. The land itself bore the imprint of government. Europeans saw Benin. When Portuguese traders reached the Kingdom of Benin in the late 15th century, they encountered a powerful African state. European accounts later describe Benin City as large, orderly, and politically sophisticated. Its royal palace and its craftsmen became famous. Its trade networks linked West Africa to Europeans and other African societies. For centuries, Benin maintained diplomatic and commercial ties with foreign powers. Yet the relationship eventually changed. Trade became imperialism. Diplomacy became conquest. In 1897, Britain launched the military expedition that would permanently alter Benin's history. In February 1897, British forces invaded Benin City. The operation is commonly known as the Benin Punitive Expedition. British troops captured the capital, looted the city, and burned large portions of it. Thousands of culturally significant objects were removed from the royal palace and other locations. Among them were the works now collectively known as the Benin Bronzes. Many were later sold to museums and private collectors throughout Europe and North America. The Oba Ovonramwen Nogbaisi was eventually captured and exiled. Benin's political independence was effectively destroyed. The invasion also accelerated the destruction and abandonment of parts of the city's historic earthworks. Road construction, colonial development, modern urban expansion, erosion, and neglect would destroy many additional sections during the following century. But the earth still remembers. Fragments survive. Trenches remain. Raised banks remain. Archaeological evidence remains. And the scale of what once existed can still be reconstructed. Was the wall 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China? A popular claim circulating online says that the walls of Benin were 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China. That statement requires context. The Benin system was not a single continuous wall. It consisted of thousands of interconnected earthworks surrounding numerous communities across a large region. Some estimates place the combined length of these earthworks at roughly 16,000 kilometers. The Great Wall of China is not a single wall. It consists of walls, trenches, natural barriers, and defensive structures built by multiple dynasties over centuries. Modern Chinese archaeological surveys place the total length of the broader Great Wall system at more than 20,000 kilometers. So saying the Benin walls were simply 4 times longer than the Great Wall of China is not historically accurate. But correcting that exaggeration does not diminish Benin. The truth is impressive enough. The Benin earthworks were among the largest and most sophisticated pre-modern earthwork systems ever built. That achievement deserves recognition without mythology. Why were we not taught this? The walls of Benin challenge an old colonial narrative. For generations, African civilizations were often portrayed as technologically primitive, politically disorganized, or incapable of large-scale engineering. But the landscape around Benin tells another story. A society cannot build thousands of kilometers of earthworks without organization. Someone had to plan them. Someone had to measure them. Someone had to organize labor. Someone had to determine where communities began and ended. Someone had to maintain the structures. Someone had to govern the territory they protected. The walls of Benin are therefore more than ancient trenches. They are evidence of African engineering, urban planning, political administration, military strategy, and civilization. The taken ones must remember. The tragedy is not merely that parts of the walls disappeared. The deeper tragedy is how easily African achievements vanished from the historical imagination. The same civilization that produced the Benin Bronzes also engineered monumental earthworks across its landscape. The same kingdom that Europeans later conquered had governed itself for centuries. The same people portrayed by colonial propaganda as needing civilization had already built cities, armies, trade networks, diplomatic institutions, artistic guilds, royal courts, and massive infrastructure projects. Benin did not suddenly become historically important when Europeans arrived. Benin had a history before Europe entered the story, and that history was written not only in books, it was written in bronze, it was written in ivory, it was written in royal traditions, and it was written directly into the earth. The walls of Benin still speak. They tell us that African civilization was building, governing, engineering, defending, creating, and remembering long before colonial flags were planted on African soil. The descendants must remember what the earth has never forgotten. DTOA. Descendants of the taken ones know the history. Restore the memory. Honor the ancestors. To support the channel, please click the like button and subscribe.